What would change in the world if you, me, and everyone choose to feed the wolf of possibilities instead of the one of doubt, distrust, and despair? The way I see it, our point of view creates reality, not the other way around. Somewhere deep within, I think we know that. In this podcast, I am daring you to claim this remarkable superpower. Join us and be inspired by trackers, explorers, and finders of possibilities from the multiverse of hope. Welcome to the podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities, with your host, Katarina.
So welcome to today's episode of Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities. And today we're exploring the possibilities with our bodies and movement. And as our guide, I've invited Amanda Erlank, who is a holistic movement specialist living in Australia. So welcome, Amanda, and let's dive in. What is a holistic movement specialist, and how did you become one?
Thank you for asking. It is a made-up term that I created because, sometimes when you study something, you're then labeled as that. And you forget that there are so many other possibilities available to you. And I have done multiple studies of the body and movement over my entire life. And everything is added to everything else. So my approach is called holistic. So I use all the tools I have available to me, whether that be my Chinese medicine background in shiatsu, whether it be massage in terms of touch, whether it be my Pilates training that I have. I'm also a teacher trainer, so the skills of communication and sharing to others, even my corporate background, everything is adding to the bigger picture. I really believe in making people aware of themselves and how their perfect design is. There are so many of us that are far away from the natural design of our body due to the things that we do in life and, the comforts and creatures that we've created for ourselves. But when you come back to that perfect design that we have, any form of movement that you want to do, whether it be walking your dog, sitting at a cafe, drinking a glass of wine, or dancing your heart out until 5 a.m. in the morning, you'll be moving in such a better way because you'll have such a better appreciation for what you do.
Well, you once said in a conversation that it amazes you how little people know about how their bodies actually function. So can you talk a bit more about that? Like, how come that's not part of what we learn?
Well, I wish I could answer that question easily because it's still a passion of mine to be able to help people really understand. If you have a conversation, even you and I, and you say, how am I? And I'd say, oh, I'm fine, or I'm great, or I'm good. Or maybe I'd say, oh, I'm okay. Could be better. It starts with that kind of thing. But what if I said to you, oh, I feel amazing. Every single breath I'm taking today is the most nourishing thing. I can feel the oxygen driving through my red blood cells into the cells to help the mitochondria produce ATP. You'd be stumped. You wouldn't know what to say to me. Or you'd be like, she is weird. Right?
Well, I actually got very excited when you said that, and I could perceive how the air that I pulled in through my lungs went into my red blood cells. So, I mean, there is also that, and I see what you mean. So, but it would mean in the extension that's as if it wouldn't contribute to have more information.
This is a really tough conversation because it's something I think about all the time. So pardon me if I say things that are going to offend anybody, but I feel like we have created a world where we value materialism over our health. We are more interested in understanding how our iPhones are working and what apps are using and, the internet going down or not versus do I actually feel okay in my body today? What is talking to me? What is not talking to me? If you miss a bowel movement, do you get concerned or do you just carry on with your day, have another coffee, have another croissant, whatever it may be? It's that kind of thing that we've lost touch with actually who we are. I did a podcast with Simone Melissus once, and one of the things I was equating our body to is kind of like a vehicle, right? So you go out and you spend a lot of money on a brand new car. How do you treat that brand new car? For most people, they treat it better than they treat themselves. Yet this is the only vehicle we are given for this lifetime. And not many people, one, know how to use it, what fuel to put into it, how it goes faster, how it needs to slow down, how it needs to be serviced. And then it's not replaceable. Yes, there are parts that can be replaced in certain things, but this is it. If you don't look after this, well.
How do you communicate with your own body, and how have you developed that?
Well, I go to bed and I wake up every morning saying 3 gratefuls for the day. So generally in the morning, I'm mostly already saying thank you to my body for waking me up, for living in the day, for doing all the processes overnight that I didn't have to think about, so that I can continue to live my life in a great way. So that's the first way of doing it. The other way is when I went through my studies of Pilates, I got to the end and I became a teacher trainer. I'm still a teacher trainer for Pilates. I've been that for 15 years now. And I got to a point of going, I need to know more. There's more that I'm missing. It's not just about this repertoire that you put this spring on that machine. I really wanted to understand what was going on a deeper level. So I went and did more studies in a modality called the Franklin method. And the Franklin method really helps you understand the brain, body, mind connection using imagery, but we teach it through, and I say we because I'm also an educator for Franklin method, is teach you exactly how the design of the body works. And it starts from understanding the bones and the joints, and then we layer that with muscles, and then we layer that with organs. So 3 different levels of understanding of the body. And once I had done that training, I cannot look at a body any differently, because I know too much now, and it's so easy, but you need to know how to impart that information to people instead of overwhelming them.
So when you look at people that you meet in your everyday life, do you literally look at, okay, how are their bones doing? How are their muscles like lining themselves? Yes.
I do. It's a hazard. It's a work hazard. So I was once at a cafe on a Friday morning, and just where I live is called the Sunshine Coast. I mean, it just lives up to its name. And as I was at the cafe, I noticed there were a lot of people, because it's right at the beach. Not many people were wearing shoes. So I just sat at the cafe and I started to film people with no shoes on. And it was amazing to see how many people were walking around without shoes. But then what I started to do once I put the video out as a reel was I started to analyze everybody's walk. So you could see who was a flat footer, who was getting articulation, who was rolling in, who was rolling out. So when I first started to teach Pilates or learn Pilates, my educator mentor had said, just go to a cafe, sit down and watch people. You will learn so much. So that's what I did. I ran out and went to the cafe, and I couldn't see a thing because I had no idea what I was looking for. So with everything in life, you have to have that practice of seeing multiple bodies in movement to start to realize, that person's got the same pattern as that one. They seem to have similar things going on with that. So,
Do you also see what I would call like happy, sad bodies, like energy?
Absolutely. So a common sad posture is of somebody with rounded shoulders and collapsed posture in. So if you, again, this I did with Simone, but if you sat in this position, so just for a moment, come out of your beautiful posture and just round your shoulders in. Yeah. Is it easy to feel very happy right now? Like, can you honestly go, I feel amazing? The body talks very clearly to how you hold yourself. And if you did the reverse, if you sort of stuck your chest out.
Even more out, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I feel terrible.
Yeah, that doesn't work either. You're correct.
It contradicts it, right? So you can see that in people's posture. And that's one way of looking at it. And then, of course, looking at people's faces is not always a good way, because people have something called a processing face. Have you ever heard of that?
No. Tell me more.
So if you tell me something, I could go and look a little bit angry with my eyes together, or I could be wide-eyed and look really surprised. But people don't actually know those micro movements that your face is making while your brain is processing the information that you're hearing or experiencing.
Right.
So often I have had instances where I feel people are really angry with me, but they're not. They're just downloading the information in their brain the way it came out of my mouth. So it's just a translation that's occurring.
And that's how their face looks like during that.
Correct. Now, you speak how many languages, Katarina?
I speak 3 languages.
All right. So if you spoke a language, if you started to speak Swedish to me,
Yeah.
I would kind of do a weird thing, wouldn't I? I'd be like, oh, I'm not
Right.
sure how to take that information. So it's the same thing. The language we're talking about here is movement.
Yes. So you basically read movement as a language.
I do, yes.
So if you could tell the people listening 3 movements that everybody and everybody should do every day, what would that be? Like just 3 movements.
So it's very simple, because we are 3-dimensional beings, and every joint has the capacity to move in 3 dimensions. So those 3 dimensions are around 3 planes of movement, which is forward and backward motion, which would be flexion, extension, so rounding and arching. Yeah, that's of your spine, but you can also do that at the joints of your arms and your legs, so forward motion or backward motion. The second movement is a sideways movement, so a side bending left to right, or arms and legs traveling out and in. And then the third range of movement would be a rotation, so a twisting. So again, upper body, lower body wrapping around, arms twisting in and out, legs twisting in and out. So those 3 patterns of forward, backward, side to side, and twisting. Doesn't matter how you do it, where you do it, what equipment you use, no equipment. You do that and you will keep your body moving in a beautifully lubricated way, again, as per its design, for the longevity of your life.
Well, it's interesting. I actually start my morning by doing those movements. I didn't know that they just make me feel really good. They're a little extensive. But what came up for me is I sometimes see older people, not old people, but older people that seem solidified. Like, so they have very little movement in their bodies. So is there always a way out of solidification, if that makes sense? Like, is there always something else possible? Or is there a time when the body literally like solidifies into one shape?
Absolutely no reason for the body to ever solidify unless you do nothing. So, the premise of if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So that's what's happening to people like that. Sedentary lifestyles are creating that type of pattern. Our new technology-based world, where we're stuck in a posture forward, looking at screens, heads forward, spines rounded, eventually that's going to start to look like we're going back into ape age, because that's the pattern we're recreating, right? So we get better at the things that we do most often. So I have people that come to Pilates twice a week. They're not going to change their life by doing Pilates twice a week. They're going to change their life by noticing when they're rounded forward. Oh, wait, let me just change that position in my body. Noticing when they feel tight in an area by just lengthening or stretching into it. Noticing when you're standing at the kitchen sink cleaning dishes or brushing your teeth. Are you putting more weight on one leg than the other? Those are the subtle changes that people will continually to do to make change in their body. So I have ranges from 3 years old all the way up to 80-year-old clients coming to see me. And I'm usually the last person that people find on their journey of trying to make themselves feel better. And, any little bit of movement, if you think of a door that's stuck or rusty, what would you do to help that door?
Like smaller and then bigger and maybe oil and, like.
Exactly. So that's exactly how we treat the body, right? The oil of the body is called synovial fluid, right? How does synovial fluid get produced? You have to move. It gets created from compression and decompression in the joints. If the joints don't have a lot of movement, well, then you can't move very well through that area. But like you said, you move a little bit, and suddenly there's a bit of give and take, and then you've got a little bit more synovial fluid coming through, and suddenly you've got range of movement that you didn't have for years and years.
So how did you become this interested in bodies? How did it start for you?
I don't know where the exact point was. I really don't. Somebody asked me a question like that the other day, and I was like, I used to be in corporate world. I was high flying, flying in private jets and attending big meetings with lots and lots of influential people, and I thought I was really, a big deal. Actually, I wasn't. All I was interested in was healing, and I really wanted to be a massage therapist. And someone said to me, oh, you'll never make money being a massage therapist. So I threw the dream away, and I was like, oh, you're right, I probably won't. So, off I went onto that corporate trail instead. But I think I've always just had a fascination with the body and the simplicity of it and the beauty of it. And I just think we're absolutely fantastically intelligent. If we took our brain away sometimes, our body would be able to do so many more things. But when we bring our brain in, sometimes we limit ourselves to what's actually possible because we overthink things and we don't believe that we can do that, or we've never been given the permission, or we've never been shown how it's possible to do something.
So how did you, when did that choice come? Because you're so, this is you are with your body, you are with bodies. That's like where you belong in a way. So how did that choice come about? How did you manage to leave your sassy life?
Well, it happened when I moved to Australia. I had just got married, and my now ex-husband had said to me, look, obviously this is a passion of yours, Pilates. So why don't you go and study it and see where it takes you? If it doesn't go the way we think it's going to go, you can always fall back on your career. So
right.
that was the shifting point for sure, where I had literally somebody's permission to go for it. And I did. And I never knew it would take me to where I am now. But every day I'm grateful for that choice that was offered to me. And, that was the one thing. The second choice was I was still hanging on to the fact that maybe I should be in the corporate career. And I was following, we have different employment agencies that send you notifications of jobs coming up. And one job came up, and I was like, should I do this? Shouldn't I do it? And my ex-husband said to me, I'm going to count to 3 and you're going to make a decision. And then I never want to hear whatever it is again. I said, okay. And he went 1, 2, 3. And I said, I choose Pilates. So I deleted all notifications for any corporate job ever coming through again. And I think that was the biggest gift of all, was then just going, okay, I cut everything else off and I'm going to go for this and really see where I can get to.
Well, you're basically closing your back door. You're saying, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah. Because if you don't commit, you're right. There's always that opportunity to get out, and then you are in 2 worlds all the time. But when you, I think that's what I love about access people as well, is like it really is, you function from a place of choice and of lightness, and different people will say it in different ways, but when you make a decision that's really good for your soul or for your being, things flow. I'm not saying it's always easy, but things flow, and you're like, wow, how did that work out for me? How come every time I want to do a course, the money is suddenly available for me to go and show up and do that kind of thing? Or, I never wanted to open my own business. Suddenly I own my own business for the last 9 years. how did that happen?
Well, so how has your body changed over this journey, your own body?
Immensely. So I always tell people I was a chubby kid, but I used to dance. That was my hobby. And I had to give up dancing at about the age of 13, which is a very vulnerable age for a lot of young women because of hormonal things kicking in and your body is going to go through changes. And anyway, I ended up putting on a bit more weight and never happy with my own body. And I was, what are we now, 24? So 24 years ago, I walked into my very first Pilates class and I walked out and I was like, I know that this is what I'm going to do. It just felt like I'd found that dance again. It just had the same energy to me. And I started yoga at the exact same time, literally on the same weekend. And not once did I say I was ever going to teach yoga, but I knew that I was going to teach Pilates. I would be that person at a party where I would bring out tools like a ball, like a big fit ball, and I'd be like, hey, do this exercise. And people thought I was crazy, but I was that passionate about it that I was like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen. So when I started to do Pilates, my body form shape changed. I don't like to tell people I lost weight. I lost weight because I was making better choices for myself, because I was going, this is something I want to do. I held back being a teacher, to be honest, or my teacher training, because I felt that I didn't have the correct for people to go, oh, she knows what she's talking about. And then I think with maturity, eventually you go like, actually, I feel great in my body, whether it looks good or not to another person. I feel amazing inside. And I would say, being a teacher trainer, I teach every single year a new set of students that come through, and I've been doing that for 15 years. So, I've always had to keep my body in shape to do the training, for people to use me as a model, to show how it's meant to look, to show how it's not meant to look, all that kind of stuff. So you've got to keep yourself in good form to do what we do. I often joke, like, I wish I would be some of my own clients who come to me 3 or 4 times a week, because I don't always get to put 3 or 4 hours into my body in a week the way they do. I do something every single day, but maybe between 2 minutes to 40 minutes, depending on what I have available to me.
It's like hairdressers. They have to sneak in their own haircutting in between.
Exactly. Or they've got the person who's working next to them quickly blow dry their hair or something.
Exactly. So finally, like if you looked at the world, and if you could change one thing, if you had like a magic wand and you could change one thing of how people were being with their bodies, what would you change?
It always goes back. Health is my number one core value, right? I can't get away from that, but I can't put that on other people. But what I would say is, get to learn the language of your body. When it talks to you, it's talking for a reason. So if you've got something that's going, ouch when you lift your arm, or, instead of saying, oh, this stupid arm is probably so intelligent to tell you, I'm hurting, something's not right. Please look after me, because I'm here to look after you. So understanding that language, I think, is probably the most important thing that I would encourage people to start to listen to.
That so reads with everything else you've talked about. And how would you say, how does the earth come in? Like how does our bodies interact with the earth or receive from the earth?
We are the earth. We are nature, right? So I have got, on my Instagram account and YouTube channel, I have got multiple plays on how I see anatomy in nature. So I did a post a little while ago. There were jellyfish that were on the beach, and I picked up a jellyfish and I said, this is the diaphragm. This is our main breathing muscle. And I did a video on how that works. And people freaked out. They're like, what are you doing touching the jellyfish? I'm like, this is what we are. And if you don't have the courage to open up a body and see inside, how are you going to experience this? We started with breathing in this conversation today. And, you know, we take 20,000 breaths a day. Don't you think that's something you want to pay attention to in order how it works, where it works, when it works well, when it doesn't work well? You know, so I'm constantly, when I go walking in nature, I'm always seeing the body in areas, and then I create content around that because I think it's fascinating. You know, we're so similar in so many ways, and I think it's just, you know, a lot of people are scared of, if I open up the skin, what am I going to see underneath? Oh, I don't want to know the gory details of my organs or my muscles or anything like that. But really, we should so know exactly what's going on inside of us. So if I can give that gift to other people through an image in nature, I'm trying to think of what I can tell you about this right now coming across my screen. But anyway, you know, like if I can show somebody, look, this is the same as something in our body and this is how it functions, people are more receptive to that. But at least then I can bring in how we are nature. So we are part of the earth. We are the earth.
I think that's beautiful. How do they find your YouTube channel if somebody wants to go and check out all those videos where you talk about the earth and our anatomy?
I have a YouTube playlist called Funatomy, meaning fun anatomy. So my business name is Connected Pilates, which is KINECTED, and that's the name of my my YouTube channel and my Instagram and Facebook as well, Connected Pilates Studio.
It's such a beautiful, and I'm going to now think of this jellyfish for the rest of the day and how it moves.
I'm going to send the video to you so you can actually see it in action.
Oh, please do. And we can actually add it on here. That would be amazing.
Sure.
And Amanda and I will actually head to Costa Rica and do a body immersion 5-day event together, also with Shannon O'Hara, Grace Douglas, and Max Solik. So if you're interested in that, we'll put the link under. And so we get to explore this even more for 5 days in depth in October this year.
And I was going to say, Katarina, I know we were talking about this the other day in a conversation about how I feel like all the participants or all the presenters on this course are just going to completely contribute and add and enhance everybody else's. So you just asked the question of how is the earth connected, but you know, that's just on a you and me level, right? But in each of our presentations, we're going to build on each other's content and just keep adding to everybody who's going to be there. And you know, when we're together en masse, the energy that gets built from that, the experience that you get from that. I think Shannon said it so well. She said, we're going to have a sleep-in retreat, which I think is fantastic, because I think when you go away to these types of retreats, you know, you're surrounded by like-minded people who are there having this incredible experience, and everyone wakes up in the morning and you kind of want to get excited for the day or talk about what happened yesterday. And you're in that progression with everyone. And then when you leave that area, the connections that you make to each other are, this is where I'll go again, is like the brain network, right? So we have synapses and we've got multiple trillions and trillions of connections that we can make in our brain. And then when you meet these like-minded people on a retreat like we're doing in October, you have that connection, right? Sometimes it's a super strong one because you're going to stay in contact really closely, or other times you're going to be, you know, in 10 years' time, you might bump into a person again and you relive the moment of that retreat that you were on. So I think it's just going to be a fantastic experience.
And we're bringing our bodies, which is part of the phenomenal live-in experience. So we get to play with bodies, earth, each other, and all those connections. Yes. Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming on. And I'm so looking forward to October. And everyone will add some links to Amanda's work and her YouTube channel and everything in the description of this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, Feeding the Wolf of Possibilities. I hope you have more space in your world now. If you would like to listen to earlier episodes, share with other people, or subscribe, please go to Spotify, iTunes, or visit katarinavalentin.com/wolf.
So I'm walking out on the beach as normal, and I come across something which is a jellyfish lying on the ground, but instead of just seeing it as a jellyfish, I see it as part of us, which is very representative of the diaphragm. So the diaphragm sits in our body and it separates the space of the lung and the heart above and the internal organs below. So we have the liver sitting underneath the right side, the stomach sitting underneath the left side. And it's got these long legs, which right here look like the actual jelly body itself, but they're attached down onto the lumbar spine and they're called the crus. So when the diaphragm contracts, it pulls down against the lumbar spine, the muscle flattens out, and then as you breathe out, it relaxes and everything travels back up again. So there's this flattening as we inhale and then this doming as we exhale. And this is going on, 20,000 times in a day, and we don't really get to think of it much because we just accept breathing happens for us. But embodying your own self is a wonderful way to have a better experience of some of the most critical things we do in life, like breathing.